Never seen you before. You from around here?
No, I'm just passing through.
That's what I thought.
Welcome home, sweetheart.
Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene.
And I'm Popco from Alt 921. Excuse me, Alt 921, and I'm the Saturday night host of Alt Natives on Alt 921.
And we're here with award-winning Scranton video producer, filmmaker, photographer, and Voyager video owner Lindsay Barrasse and her crew Dave and Desiree, who worked on the short film The Road Less Traveled, which will debut at the Northeast Pennsylvania Film Festival in Scranton on March 23rd. So we're going to talk about making indie films in northeastern Pennsylvania, behind the scenes of The Road Less Traveled and other projects, women in front of and behind the camera, some other movie-related topics. We both used to work at Blockbuster back in the day, so that might come up if you've fond memories of Blockbuster, and much, much more. So please tune in for the full hour. We love to hear from you. It's always better when you guys participate in our conversation. So if you have anything to say about what we're talking about tonight, if you have any questions about filmmaking in the area or anything like that, please leave them down below. We will get to them later on in the show. But before we get to that, we should plug our sponsors here. Beer Boys gave us these lovely beers to help out these nervous people calm down a little bit.
I don't know why they're so nervous.
I don't know.
I guess because they're in front of cameras now.
I do want to sit like this.
Yeah,
it's like much more comfortable.
A little bit.
If you guys want to trade couches, by all means.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
This
Yeah.
one
This is a
I
premium
do have
couch.
a little chocolate bar in my purse that I'm gonna get a little chocolate and beer going.
Okay. Well, which I didn't even see which ones we had. This week.
Okay, we got the Rivertown Halakahiki.
Sure.
Ooh, that sounds Hawaiian.
It is.
Yeah. Is that the pineapple beer?
I believe so, yes.
I will have the pineapple beer. We had that at our wedding.
Oh, cool.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Taste of that.
Well, our local wedding here. But go ahead.
Very cool.
Can't finish it.
Nice.
SBC NEIPA.
Number two.
Number 2.
I don't know what the difference between 1 and 2 is, but
And a Founder's Breakfast Stout.
oh, that's a good one too.
That's
Founder's breakfast stout is really good. The oatmeal, the chocolate.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what would you guys like to start with?
Pineapple beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Is everyone partaking?
Just a little
Not
for
me.
me.
Just,
Just a tiny bit for me.
Just some spit for you.
Yeah.
Des over here, she'll get out of control.
Yeah, you don't-
wanna
Yeah, you don't wanna
that.
see her
It's like
when
the
she...
Hulk. You don't
Well, I
want
gotta be careful with beer, so it's like
Yeah.
I'm not much of a beer person. So.
It won't hurt you, I promise.
I know.
It is quite tasty. It's very
So I'm
refreshing.
like, okay, pineapple sounds good.
Yeah. It's
Well,
really good.
tonight is their glass night, so you could stop down for $2 Sam Adams Cold Snap pints in a free Sam Adams glass. And of course, Sunday is parade day, so
Oh boy.
Beer Boys is open at 9 a.m. with kegs and eggs, and a celebratory SBC Cherry Shandy keg tapping. That sounds really good. $3.75 Guinness pints, $5 Irish car bombs, $5 pitchers, Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, and more all day and all night. The Wyoming Valley Pipe and Drum Band will be there at 3:30.
That's fine. Whatever you want.
They have another pipe and drum band at 5:15, and a half-price happy hour from 6 to 8, which they have a half-price happy hour Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays from 9 to 11, Fridays and Saturdays from 8 till midnight. So, well, this looks like orange juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pineapple juice. Cheers.
That's good stuff.
It's good.
Oh, it is good.
Yeah.
You want more?
No. I'm good with what I have.
It's like a breakfast beer. Like you want to have it with your pancakes.
That's a
and your-
problem.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But perfect for Sunday.
That's why Des won't drink
Well,
anymore.
Saturday
She had a
Saturday in
problem.
Scranton, Sunday in Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
That's pretty much standard practice for everybody.
It's
I don't know if
really
that's healthy or not.
It's not bad.
but
Yeah.
It's fine.
Somebody should do a study on that.
Yeah, my
but-
dad got the keg.
Yeah, I
But
remember
speaking
it
of
was a big
Saturday,
Yeah.
the V Spot, one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania with live entertainment every night of the week. This week they have Mark Satura on Thursday. New Era is playing your favorite new metal songs from the early 2000s on Friday. Saturday, of course, is Parade Day, so they're also open at 9 a.m. with breakfast. Adam McKinley is noon to 3 p.m. Dueling DJs and karaoke from 3 to 7. That sounds dangerous.
Well, Vinny has no idea what that even is.
No, he doesn't. He just sends me this stuff every week, and he says, you figure it out and you put it together and
Yeah, he
you make
is.
it look nice and everything. He has no idea.
When I asked him, he said he has no idea. So.
Well, I think dueling DJs, like, do they just like fight to the death? Because that is well worth
I mean, I've heard
a
of-
small cover charge.
I've heard of
like-
dueling pianos, which is very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Like there can only be one.
Right. Only one walks away. Like
Yeah. Or like the two drummers in Bobby Keller's band.
Yeah.
Films.
It's a road less traveled little plug there. Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah.
I have
Two drummers.
something to say about Bobby when we get to it.
oh, we'll get
He's
there.
watching.
He's
He
probably
is
watching.
Yeah, he had a message, right? For,
Usually
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
message
I
is-
don't know. I don't know why.
well, you gotta tell Rachel tell
Yeah,
us
he had a
why,
message,
right?
didn't he?
What?
Didn't Bobby have a
Yeah,
message?
Bobby specifically asked me to say howls owls to you.
Oh, okay.
What was
And
that?
I was like, I don't know about
Thank-
that, Bobby.
Thank you for that, like 4-year-old joke.
What was that from?
So he came to one of our open mics when we were back. This is when we first started doing them back at the Woodlands. So this is like 4 years ago, and he did his entire comedy bit was just things you didn't know about Rich Howells that he just completely made up. So it was just a list of these like completely random things. So apparently I run a business called Howells Owls.
I heard the story before and I forgot.
What is the business? Can you tell
I
us?
still don't know.
Sells
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Stuffed owls.
That's
Yeah.
for Bobby to
Sounds
decide.
like
Seller
he sells
train.
stuffed
Yeah.
owls.
Is he like an owl breeder?
Tell a
But
trainer.
it could be that.
Trainer?
Could be. Reproduce
Yeah.
the
You know.
owls.
Yeah. Could
Yeah.
could be like a
Yeah, is
villain,
it very?
like the
I'm,
owl.
They could just
I'm
stand
totally
around
want
and
to
have
sit like
owls
this.
on
You
the-
look so
Sit like this.
comfortable.
What? Yeah,
I'm like, should I sit like this? All right.
But anyway,
Anyway,
so also Lightweight is playing pop rock from 8 till midnight, and DJ Huff, of course, is hosting karaoke on Sunday. So if he's got to do Saturday, he has to be the winner because
He can't show his face if he loses.
Right, exactly. So if he doesn't win the DJ duel, he obviously won't be there Sunday. So I don't know
It'll
what
probably
they're
be
gonna do
rigged.
Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He has to win. He's the house DJ. So.
Exactly. Well,
I mean, he's better than Hirsch.
well, you know, you have to throw that in there.
I hope he's watching.
I don't know if he's watching yet. Usually he tunes in a little late.
and the dual DJing is happening where?
That's at the
The
V
V
spot.
spot?
Yes, so that's on Saturday.
Yeah.
So your 2 parade day places are already made up for you. Saturday you got to
Yeah.
go to the V spot. Sunday you got to go to Beer Boys.
Yeah.
And tell them we sent you as well.
I'll put a little comment.
Bring your breakfast beer. I
Cheers
guess.
to Vinny at the V
DJ
spot.
DJ Huff, greater
From
than.
back in the day, I know Vinny from the Green Frog days.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
so.
we're going back.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send a little message to.
Oh, there you go. Tag
So
him,
when he
make sure you
when he
see
comes in here, he'll see it. I hope.
Well, you know, speaking of back in the day, let's go back a little bit. What was your initial interest in film? How did you first fall in love with films?
In about seventh grade, I made my first film with my friend Jennifer Wass, and we made this like horror homage film about a killer clown that kills people over the telephone. It was called Ring. Really stupid, really silly. My aunt was a communications major at the time and had a lot of horror movies, and I would like watch them all, and like I just became immersed with wanting to make films or making even fake commercials. I made a fake commercial for Sleepaway Camp in 7th grade, taking my aunt's video camera. They weren't even edited. They were just like, you'd stop it and then go to the next scene, and like
You're
they
way
were
too
so
young
bad.
to be watching Sleepaway Camp.
Yes,
at that age.
but yeah, I started very, very young with like a horror, maybe 4th, 5th, even 3rd grade maybe.
Oh wow.
Watching. But yeah, I just really loved film, and I would dissect films. And then when Scream came out, I was so obsessed, and I saw it 11 and a half times in the theater. And that is not a made-up number, actually half time. The other half was because Anaconda was playing at the same time.
Okay.
And after that played, we were just like, well, that was that movie. And we went in to watch the end of Scream again at the Ritz Theater in Dixon City, which is no longer there. I think it's like a trampoline park or a church or something now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I just rewatching that over and over again. And then when it came out on video, it was like a birthday surprise because right around my birthday too. And I had the director's cut, which is, well, it wasn't the director's cut, it was the commentary. So it was the actors and Wes Craven and talking over the film, and I was like, this is so great. This is what I want to do. And I kind of like lost sight of that in like high school, and I became more immersed with like arts and graphic design, but still loving horror movies. I went to college for art. And then marketing, and just kind of went back to my passion, like just being involved in film. So I didn't go for film. I went for art, and my appreciation of film is art. Like I dissect colors, I make sure every frame is a painting kind of deal where I want things balanced. Got to fill that like negative space. I want to make sure the color palette doesn't like contract each other, and I want to express the right moods, especially with color. I get very these guys will tell you how obsessed I am about color.
You've got some examples, I think, right?
Yeah, so that's the color palette of The Road Less Traveled. Specifically hunting for so she wears this red dress. Camille, our main actress, was like, you have to wear this red dress.
Okay.
So we went on a hunt for the red dress from the 1970s. We got it from On and On, but it had to be like the perfect red dress. Like we tried on a bunch of different ones, and just making sure the beginning of the film starts off with like a lot of blues. Like the car interior was blue, but like in the editing we really pushed up the blues on that. Just symbolizing like blue is coldness and fear and masculinity, and when she finally, you know,
we don't want to give away
we don't want to give away too much.
But I mean, you guys saw the teaser at the beginning.
Yeah,
you could kind of probably figure out where at least a little bit of it is going. You know?
That's cool though, because as a viewer, I don't think I would have like appreciated that as much had you not told me.
Yeah. It's very like subliminal too. The eye, the human eye kind of takes it and like puts it into the brain, and your chemical, your like serotonin and like little like nerve transmitters do all that for you, and subliminally say, okay, well, red means this and blue means this, and different hues invoke different feelings. Like, you know, you have David Fincher does everything in like that green, that time period where he was like doing everything with like that green. So it was like that eerie kind of, you know, you think of the movie Seven, and it has that like eeriness to it. So
that's gross.
It almost happened.
Oh my goodness!
It tried to attack.
It tried to attack. Yeah. So, but I could go on for a very long time talking about color theory.
Well, let's how did you guys get into film? What was your interest?
Well, he's married to me.
Getting into that?
So,
yeah.
So you were stuck with it no matter what.
She
Stop
forced me
talking
to do
about it.
She forced me to do it. No, I mean, I don't know where it started exactly. I started editing in high school, and I don't even know how I did it or how I got into it. But I remember I used to take music that I liked and films that I liked, and I would just like cut these little music videos for no reason. And I enjoyed doing that. And then in college a little bit, I just with my friends, I'd make like short films, like
Eggman.
ridiculous short films. Eggman was a saga. There were like 3 of those that we did. It was about like this egg from space who like I don't remember what he does. He comes to Earth, and then like all the other eggs come to like try to take over the Earth, and he's gonna save Earth. I don't remember, but it was good. It was good. I used to have it on like a DV tape, but I lost it unfortunately. And
We'll find
then,
it. We'll put it out there.
yeah, and then I don't know, 10 years ago maybe I worked on a film, and I just got into it and decided to start trying to do it commercially, and that's kind of where Voyager Video, our company, was born. And you know, we got into doing like commercial work and stuff like that, and you know, I enjoy stuff like that. Lindsay's much more of the filmmaker, you know, into narratives and things like that, and she's creative in that
Dave's
way.
the master editor.
Well, editing is such it's such an underrated job in the sense that, you know, so many films come together in the edit, you know, and so some films that aren't even good are saved in the edit. You know, I mean, probably Star Wars being like the biggest example I can think of, you know, as a film guy. I'm a hardcore Star Wars guy, but I'll freely admit that
Hardcore Star Wars, yeah.
But George Lucas had no idea what he was doing when he was making that movie until the editors came in and really were like, okay, this needs to go and this needs to stay, and you know, that's where that movie essentially came together.
Yeah, and that happened, I mean, on this film a little bit.
We cut out a whole scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting because Lindsay was the director. Bridget LaMonica, who's not here, she lives in Atlanta. She was the writer, and I was the editor. And kind of like at every pass, there's like a different interpretation that kind of like goes into like the final product. So Bridget, you know, she wrote it, and she had been working on it for years. I guess she had the idea years ago, and she had her own vision for it in the beginning. You know, when she would think of the film, she would kind of see a specific film in her head, I'm sure. And then she gave the script to Lindsay to direct, and Lindsay read it, and she had her own kind of film going on, and she directed based on that. And then I went into the edit room and kind of put together, based on what I understood of their ideas and the script, you know, my interpretation, I guess. And then you go back over it, and you're kind of like, well, you know, this seemed like it would work in the script or on set or whatever, and you know, maybe we put it together a different way and it works better, and before you know it, you kind of have like this hybrid that you know, ultimately is hopefully the best version that it could possibly be, you know.
I mean, it was definitely a 100% team effort. Like, we all had these intricate pieces just pulling together, and I mean, I wish Bridget was here. You know, I talked to you about her calling in, and I wanted to make sure that I represent her the right way, because it was all her idea. Like, she thought of this when she was going to film school, and she went down in Savannah. She's down in Atlanta now. She's actually working on a few productions, which is why she can't be here today. But when she came, she came with me to me with the script, and I read the script, and I said, this is great. What if we did X, Y, and Z, and changed it this way to, I don't want to reveal too much about the film.
Sure.
But basically the film's ending part, that was written, but I'm like, what if we make a little bit more elaborate and add more to the character and develop the character more? And that really came together too with meeting Casey and Camille and having a read-through. So we did this as if you would do any kind of film production. You want the cast to be perfect. So scouring different people in the NEPA area, and then initially having Camille and Casey come in for a read-through, which we filmed, and then dissected. Bridget and I were like, well, what do we think of these two characters together? How do they work? And And Bobby Keller's character, that part wasn't in the first initial script. There wasn't a gas station attendant. And then there was a gas station attendant. He was supposed to be like an old man. And I was like, well, what about, Bobby Keller? He does all this great stuff with like horror and the NEPA Horror Fest and different things, and kind of like have him wear like the Voyager hoodie in it. It's like a little, there's a little plug for Voyager, so he's wearing the Voyager hoodie in it, and I actually had to, he squeezed into, I had a jumpsuit because I was Rosie the Riveter for Halloween one year, so I had this jumpsuit, and he actually wore that, but like had to like, he's like, I can't zipper it around this region, like, and just like, so we're like, all right, let's put the hoodie on and zipper that, so like, it's not really zippered in certain places, but the hoodie kind of, and at the time he had like this giant beard too. And
well,
it just
him
works for the
exposing
character.
himself probably wouldn't be the worst thing that Bobby Keller's ever done. So that's...
And all his dialogue, that between him and Casey, majority of it was improvised. Like there was a general idea of what I wanted him to say and what Bridget had scripted. There's that, we had mentioned the two drummers thing, which was like something he totally threw in, talking about a band he had, and it's like two drummers and a saxophone player. Like, what kind of band is this?
Yeah.
I was waiting for a band name plug from him, actually.
Yeah.
But I feel like his beard was too well groomed.
Yeah, to be a gas station attendant. Yeah.
He wasn't dirty enough.
Yeah, we should have dirtied him up.
Which is weird, because usually Bobby is dirty all the time.
Yeah, but there's so I had him say, what's it gonna be? The price is set at $5.20, which is actually a little Easter egg in there, because that's the same from I Spit on Your Grave, the gas station scene, where he's like, what's it gonna be? Or she asked, and he goes $5.20. So that's actually from the classic horror film I Spit on Your Grave, not the remake.
No.
The original.
No, yeah.
So there's different things like that throughout the whole film, little Easter eggs,
Little
playing
references
homage.
for horror fans.
Yeah. So.
Well, how about you? How did you get involved?
Well, I've always been interested in film and art and graphic design. I have a graphic design major, and professionally I'm a graphic designer. But I've always had that interest of film production in the back of my mind, but just didn't know how to proceed into that area, because I know it's a very freelance-based business and trying to get connections and all that. And I remember in high school I made a logo in high school when we had graphic design class of like Papa Midnight from Constantine, like Papa Midnight's coffee shop. So I was like throwing like film stuff, and like even in college I had like I had projects for graphic design class, and just threw like some movies. I did a spread for Inception and all that, and there was another class that I took at Merriwood, was Film is Art. We watched a movie. She gave you notes about like what they're doing, what the colors mean, and all that stuff, and I just ate that up. I still have the book for it, and the title of the book for that class was If It's Purple, Someone's Gonna Die. Like all that meaning of all the colors and all that foreshadowing that films have. But then I was just trying to see how to get into it, and then by chance I met up with Lindsay and Dave on their movie a couple years ago, and that's how I got into doing that, and then getting people who were interested in me helping and just getting that experience. I don't have any film school background whatsoever. It's just getting experience, meeting people, networking, and then whether it's professional, like I've worked on 2 professional ones, whether it's professional or you're just helping a friend out with their film, you just bring that A game every day, and then you don't know when your next gig's going to be. So they could be the lead to your next job. So it's just getting out there and putting yourself out there, and just having an experience with that, with people.
Is it different on every project?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit different.
She's always willing to jump in and do whatever needs to be done.
We've had her be script supervisor. We've had her like do a coffee run. We've had she's a kick-ass production assistant, but she's also an amazing production designer and a very extremely talented graphic designer. And there were elements in the movie, like this book makes an appearance, and that's like the title, rather than having the title come across the screen. You get to see this book and having little elements of that, and that's
so you had to
Desiree's
get that little
little
Print it out
creation.
there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This is really awesome film poster designs.
Oh, yeah.
Including
Yeah, I've done a lot of film poster work
including ours.
lately,
Yeah.
like for different people.
Yeah. And she is one of the people behind, well, the Mystery Box Challenge.
Yeah, I'm pretty
for that, the
yeah.
NEPA film festival with that, so you could talk about the...
Yeah, I've been volunteering with helping organize with the Northeast Pennsylvania Film Festival and have helped with coordinate the Mystery Box Film Challenge that goes on every year coinciding with the film festival. And basically with the Mystery Box Film Challenge this year we had about 13 teams sign up. So if you're a team of 1 or if you're a team of 5, you could sign up if you want to participate. That was over last summer. We were asking for sign-ups. And then in September, whoever was interested went to the Pittston Tomato Bar for our lunch party, received a box. And in the box are requirements and things that you needed to use in your film. Like, there were rules, like it had to be at least 10 minutes, can't go over 10 minutes. PG-13, we had a spoon, lighter, socks, a line of dialogue, all that stuff. They had to be in it, but different from this year, opposed to last year. Last year, everyone's box was different. This year, everyone got the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see if you come to the film festival. They're premiering the films on Sunday at the University of Scranton, just to see how they're using the same things in a different way, how they came up with their film.
Yeah, that's cool. I always liked those things. Those are
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah, they've done it for the last 2 years, and yeah, this year I think to me is the most interesting because everyone has the same
box.
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
box, the same tools, kind of to and to get everyone's kind of vision with the same kind of
And their
thing.
interpretation too. Like everyone has a certain idea of what was in the box and
What's in the box?
yeah, what's in the box. And like the time frame, like we gave a little bit longer time frame. Last year was 2 months to get your film done. This time it was a little longer, so it was in the winter. It was like around the holidays, so just to see like how people worked with that too. So it's not really fun filming in the winter. So,
Right. Probably a lot of
Yeah.
inside shots.
yeah, or just doing one location inside.
Yeah.
Now, were they have to stick to a specific genre, or they could do whatever?
This time they could do whatever. I know last year we gave them like a choice of genres, depending. But I think this year they were like, do whatever comes to you.
Yeah, well, last year it was like they're given 2 or 3 choices.
They were
or
given 3
whatever,
choices.
3 choices, but each person, each team was a different 3 choices.
Yeah, it was like a different 3
Yeah.
choices. It was like that little puzzle,
Yeah.
finger puzzle.
We did one last year. We didn't do one this year, and I'm sad. Like, I wish
I
we
want
did.
to do one too,
Yeah.
but I ran out of time too. But I
Yeah.
still want to do
Yeah.
it though.
But Desiree was
Des
involved
was
in
a great
ours.
script she
Yeah.
wrote, for that.
We'll do that script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. But our one that we did last year, you were
Yeah.
camera on that, right? And
I was
then
in
back,
it. I was doing Slate too.
you were doing Slate, and like
You called me after the air show, and I'm like, okay.
yeah, we did it like the day before that it was due, like literally the day before it was due, and
It came out good.
it came out really fun.
It was
Yeah,
fun.
really
Yeah.
funny.
I mean, last year Joe DeMiro saved a lot of people.
Yeah, saved ours.
He saved a lot of
Cheers
people.
to Joe.
Yeah, cheers to Joe.
We called him that day that we filmed, and we initially, so it had to be a special guest or a celebrity guest appearance or something like that was our one of our requirements last year, and we were gonna have Elsa, a friend of ours, dress up as Elsa, but she got like sick and couldn't make it, and I was like, Joe's got to be Vin Diesel. We got to hire him, and Vin Diesel's going to walk on our set. And, like, he completely changed the dynamic of it for the better. Like, it just was so amazing. And, like, I'm like, all I want you to say is, like, I'm Groot. All, like, just over and over. So it's the only thing. He's got his glasses. He's like, I'm Groot. I'm Groot.
It's probably between that and the Iron Giant is probably the best acting he ever did in his entire
How
career.
dare
so.
you? Fast and Furious are great films.
Yeah.
Pitch Black, great film.
Pitch Black is a good film. I do like
What's
that
the other
movie.
one? The Pacifier?
Well, that's a your kind
That's
of movie.
great.
That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Great film.
Yeah.
That was great.
Robbed of the Academy Award that year.
Dare you?
Could you
What else was she
imagine? the Academy Awards. This is and then Vin Diesel wins for the past 5.
He shows up like in a
One
white
day.
beater and shades. Yeah.
Woo!
What else was he in?
Like
day.
think
Was it Triple X? Maybe?
working
Triple X.
nannies.
Triple X.
Triple X,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
What else is
And then he didn't do the second one, but then the third one
Yeah.
Yeah.
came back.
He thought he was too good at
Triple-
that
it
point.
was
They,
the third
all those
one?
guys kind of reached that
Yeah.
peak where they do a bunch of.
That
like,
was a big rental at Blockbuster. That was
Yes.
What was
two
the third
walls
one called?
of Triple X.
X3?
Yes.
That got
Triple X.
two
at
bays.
least 3.
Triple X3.
Oh.
They definitely had subtitles. There was definitely.
Well, Triple
like,
X is
Well,
30.
the second one was
Yeah.
the State of the Union
33?
or something. With
Oh yes, State of the Union.
Maybe.
with Ice Cube.
Ice Cube.
Yeah.
We had the technology. We could look. You can continue. I'll find out.
But yes, cheers to Joe DeMiro.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I think
Saving
that's
everybody's.
another example of
Yeah.
like what we were talking about before, like how she had a vision in mind originally. She had somebody who was going to play a different
Yeah.
character, and that fell through, and we kind of had to not make do, but like, you know, retool things to make it work, and it,
Right.
you know, it turned out, you know, better that way. But like, I think on, you know, on small budget or no budget stuff, like you have to do that a lot, and and I think, you know, just back to like having a writer, director, editor kind of thing, like that really helps because you don't have just one person who's got like this vision in their mind and like can't separate, you know what I mean, like can't have that perspective.
Right.
Where if you have a few different people that it's like their job to like interpret it like this way or whatever, that there's less of like an attachment that can kind of sometimes, you know, get you boxed in a corner a little bit. You know?
Right. You kind of have to be flexible.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
It
you
is
have to.
hard though. Like the scene that we did cut from The Road Less Traveled was, it was a great scene. Bridget worked the Steadicam on it too, so she had a full vest on. We had her hooked up and like basically choreographed. Spent a lot of time choreographing this scene.
Yeah.
And in the edit, we realized it was giving away too much. And it was also like the time frame and like knowing, it just gave away. I don't want
Right.
to say too much, but it was like
It was kind of a pacing thing.
it was a
and,
pacing thing, and
Where we shot it was in this giant barn.
yeah.
that was,
Thanks to Ron.
Yeah,
Thanks
there
to
you go.
Ron.
There you
What's his last
go.
name?
Augelli.
That was a great
I'm
location.
very bad. I'm the worst Italian ever because when it comes to like Italian names, I'm always like blah, blah, blah. So add jelly, maybe.
Yeah, and we shot in that
But
barn.
he was so great. He owns We Talk Shirty.
Oh yeah.
And we were searching for a barn to fit. Like we were in Lake Ariel, we were up in Honesdale, driving around Moscow area, trying to scout locations. We stopped at like this ostrich farm, which was the scariest. Remember that ostrich farm?
Yeah.
With the
We're going around like just stopping in random places. If you had a barn, we stopped at your house.
Yeah.
So like we stopped at this place. I don't remember where it was, but
They bred
there's like this
animal,
long
like-
driveway going in, and like you get there, and it's like country
Yeah,
folk.
the kids come out
And
with
there's
no
just,
kids.
like-
They're like, are you here for the eggs? You want the eggs?
Like
And I'm like,
or whatever.
So
I
this
guess-
is like the beginning of its own horror movie.
Yeah, so we're like, I
Yeah.
guess we'll take some eggs, and they bring us into like this little room, and there's all these like cages of different animals, and then there's trailers with cats, the hairless cats. So they bred hairless cats. They had ostriches. They had Great Danes. So they were breeders of all these different, and we're like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you
And-
would be
just
ended up
buy-
in one of those
Let's
cages.
just buy these eggs and get out. What kind
Yeah,
of eggs
so I
they
mean that
are.
wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we tried a few places, and
Yeah.
then eventually we stopped at this nice antique shop. We talked to the lady there, and
So
she just happened
so
to have
nice.
I think her sister or something had this property. It was an
Yeah.
old diner that was no longer in service.
So the barn actually might have been an old diner.
And so
Yeah.
by that point,
Yeah.
we're like, well, we have this person who's potentially going to let us use this old diner. Maybe
Maybe we
just use
changed it
that.
to the
And for
diner.
a little while, that's what it was going to be.
And
but
then, we did a commercial for Ron. We were working with him, and I just happened to like say that we were on a location scout looking for a barn. He's like, I have an old barn. I'm like, what? Really? And he's like, yeah, here's a picture. And it was like the perfect barn you could ever ask for. Like, you've seen this, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So, like, it was just so creepy. And he's like, oh, yeah, and there's a tiger's cage. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, the previous owner had, like, a tiger. And, like, but it's, yeah. And so, like, that got worked in. So, like...
That's another thing that we had, but we cut it because...
Well, you see it.
You see it, yeah. When he first pulls in onto the property, you can see it a little bit on the left side, but...
But that all was torn down, like, the week after we filmed.
Oh,
so he's like, you either film this, like, well, today or tomorrow. That was the options. We're like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow. And, like, we were like, Desiree, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's do this. We got this. Like, calling... Carpooling, getting everything done, and... It worked out so great, and I mean, this barn, like, you couldn't, it was just so creepy and falling apart, and, like, poor Camille, she got injured so much.
It was like
from
dirt, dead animals.
No, she didn't.
No, she was fine.
She was
She was
fine.
good.
She was fine.
Like, you gotta be
She's
careful.
A trooper.
She's still alive.
She's still alive.
A little like Friday the 13th 3D kind of thing. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
It
like
was
the old
just,
barn.
Yeah,
and then also
cool.
there was an abandoned house too on the
Yeah.
property. So, but then the following week it was all torn down, and that's on our Facebook. You could see like we did a live feed from the barn, and then I did share Ron's post about the barn being torn down, and it was kind of like this bittersweet, like the barn had its last hurrah. Like,
Right.
Because it's a very, it's an element of the film. It's almost a character in itself. That and the car. The car is a huge character. That's how I view it. And that's Bridget's baby. That's actually her car.
Oh, really?
Her 67 Chevy Impala. That is her baby. It's her project with her and her dad that they're completely restoring it. So we are lucky and so blessed that it was also cold winter days too.
I was impressed she backed it into my garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to.
Yeah.
If you want to put the poster image up on the screen there, I sent you the poster.
The poster.
Here, so you can get a closer look at the car. The car there, it reminds me of like Carrie.
Yeah, it was
and like Christine.
And Firestarter were the
Firestarter. Yes.
So
that's
what I took this photo.
Okay.
It was outside the barn, and she was standing in front of one of the LED lights.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, this is like a fire starting. And I'm like, Desiree, use this photo. And it was just like a photo from my phone. It wasn't like a
Sure.
Well, I had this poster made well in advance before you asked for it.
Yeah. Because
I was just like, that picture she took of Camille is great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I took a lot of stills just for that because I knew a poster was coming down the road, and she had a totally different idea from. I have her sketch still.
Yeah.
With Casey in front of the Impala and the red dress hanging out of the trunk. I'm like, I think this can go a different way.
Yeah.
So.
And it definitely has this like great retro look to the poster.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Desiree like killed it on that, and then the font choice. Dave actually found the font. It's like Gothic, yeah. We were on like a hunt for the perfect font, and you found the font, and then I went in and like tweaked the font, adding like dust and scratches and like
that works.
Just like making the like a little bit pointier to kind of give it that like evilness to the lettering.
Yeah. The living car personality sort of thing.
I had to look up how to make the headlights glow in Photoshop. I'm like, I want to see how I could do this.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, really cool. I think a lot of people, have they watch movies, they love movies, they have these dreams of making movies. Mm-hmm. They want to know, like, how do you even begin to tackle these types of projects? Like, are there certain permissions or permits or anything that you have to get involved with? Are there other aspects outside of the creative ideas that you need to put together to actually get the movie made?
Well, luckily, Northeast Pennsylvania filming is so great. You basically ask the people, can we film here? Yeah. And they give you permission, and you have you go the proper route of having location releases and everything, which you could find available online.
Right.
No Film School has a great library of stuff like that, so you could find like press, like examples of like press releases, from location releases, art releases. So if you have like art in the background, like these are all things you do have to think about. But as far as like going out and like filming something, if you have an idea, like don't think that you can't do it, because anyone could, if you put your mind to it, you can certainly, like we all have iPhones. There's been movies that have been awarded now that are completely shot on iPhones. The capability of a phone, like I'm not knocking, old film technology, because film is beautiful. I'm an avid lover of actual like film on camera, and like there are so many great professional cameras there, but if you want to start, don't let saying, I don't have a camera, I don't have the proper lighting, like, do that. Because even in amazing productions, you take Reed Morano, who I absolutely adore. She's a director and cinematographer. She's such a wonderful human being and person all around. She loves practical lighting, practical source lighting in her films. So like the Skeleton Twins, for example, Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader, really great film. A majority of that was practical lighting. So you have like a lamp, and she just used that lamp, or like put something on the lamp to give it a little shade, and like just using what's around you and having that ability to see things in an artistic mindset, and not limiting yourself and not limiting the capabilities, and just believing I could do this.
Right.
Because you can. Anyone could do it. You have a dream, you have this vision, go out and do it. Get your friends, get together, and just like go out and film. Ask people for help. The art of asking is also such a beautiful thing, because the worst they can say is no. And it's your fear that's holding you back, like, of asking. So if you were to ask, the worst they can say is no. Right. And then you just keep asking. It's like the people of New York, the photographer. He used to have such bad social anxiety, couldn't talk to people, and he didn't even live in New York City, was in there and started taking photos, and he realized that the photos that he was showing his family were that of people more than landscapes or things like that. So when he was in New York, he was like, well, the worst they could do is say no, so let me just approach. And he said he still gets jitters asking people, but some of those times they say no, majority of the times they say yes, and it makes for a great conversation. Right. So like follow your dream if that's what you want to do, and you want to make films, you want to be a production designer, you want to work camera, like the internet is so great where you have, no film school, you have things like Udemy or Creative Live where you could watch all these courses and kind of like go on your own. It's not necessarily that you have to go to film school. You're wearing your Death Proof shirt. Yep. Quentin Tarantino says, I didn't go to film school, I just went to movies. Right. So, wow, that was a long tangent.
I think social media helps in that too. If you're looking for people to help you, there's like local areas have their own Facebook. We have Actors Supporting Actors, Scranton, Community Film Project's another one. There's like a state one that's like Pennsylvania Actors and Filmmakers. So if you're looking for actors or people to help you, those are great places to look for there as well.
And it's such a supportive community too. And so many people say there's nothing to do in Scranton, or this area is so dark, or Wilkes-Barre area. But like there's actors supporting actors. There's Scranton Fringe. There's I'm not familiar with Wilkes-Barre, but I know that there's places here in Wilkes-Barre that do the same thing, and people getting together. Jonathan Edwards runs a so he does the drones. And he also did some of the droning
we had him on this show a while back.
So he did some of the droning on this film along with Lee blah blah blah.
The droning.
The droning.
We just
of
had him in the
Access
background,
Aerial.
just humming.
Yeah. But and like that's a thing. Like you just ask, see if they can. All work together. He was so great. Lee was great. But yeah, Jonathan runs the camera group here in this area where they meet up and just take photos and then, critique each other's work or help each other. And that's what it's about. It's about helping each other out, not tearing each other down, really working together. And like this film isn't just, you know, my film. It's Dave's film. It's Desiree's film. It's Bridget's film.
Sure.
You know, it's Ron's film. It's Lee's film.
Camille,
it's Jonathan,
Casey's.
Camille, Casey, Bobby. The guys at Fletcher's Hilltop Station, which was another thing that we had to search for. And that was the first gas station I had in mind. But it was on a main drag. And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to make this work. It's going to be really loud. So we went, like, searching for another one. And I'm like, just go back to the first
That had an
choice.
old school pump.
That,
on it,
it
too.
was
That
glorious.
It was the
really
hardest
Yeah.
thing to find
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know there's just not a lot of places like that. And we were looking
Yeah.
when we were looking for the barn, we were looking around that area for a
Gas
gas station,
stations.
assuming that in the country is where you'd probably find.
But
a
there's
place
not.
like
It's like
that.
all like big name.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Boleros and stuff.
I was
like
gonna say that,
so-
but they're not sponsoring the show, so.
so, well,
But yeah, Fletcher's Hilltop in Scranton
Wow.
was so great, and they're like, "Oh, what?
Yeah.
A movie? All right. What do we get?" I'm like, "We'll bring you lunch." Okay. And that's all you like.
Just
Yeah,
gotta
we got,
feed
yeah.
people.
yeah,
They
they're
got them
very-
Dunkin' Donuts. They loved it. It was so
That's
great.
the easiest
yeah.
way to people's
Yeah,
hearts.
as long as you
Yeah.
feed them and
Food
treat them
very
right.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
important.
that's just the only thing.
Yeah.
Like you were
Food
asking
is very
about,
important.
what kinds of logistics you actually need to make a movie. And I mean, when people say like a no budget film,
Yeah.
like that, there's no such thing as a
Mhm.
no budget film. There's still some level of investment
Yeah.
Sure.
with the equipment that you have, and then the biggest expense on any film is going to be feeding people, transporting them around, accommodating them in different ways. So you have to factor in that, and that's why not that we don't wish we could have large crews, but most of the time, like the absolute minimum amount of people that we can have is what we're going to do, because we can work a little bit faster, a little bit a little bit tighter, and there's a few less mouths to feed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we get good food. Like,
but,
you
I mean-
want to make the cast and crew and everyone involved really happy, because they're, you're working really hard. You're doing all this work.
Sure.
So
Especially
you got to have
voluntary.
your snacks. You got to have caffeine. You got to have your coffee. And then you have to have like your sustainable food, not just like pizza or something like that. Which pizza is always good, but if you're eating that like every day, you're
Yeah.
on set.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
see,
like
that's the
having
thing. They
like
say that they're always like,
Dave
oh, you
could
can't
eat
just
pizza
feed.
all day
Yeah,
long.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it was me,
Yeah.
You'd be
One
alright
thing
every
on
day.
set, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to eat something heavy. I want something pretty
Yeah.
light, because it's
Yeah.
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 When we shot at Ron's house, then we all went after we were done filming this day to a great little like
nice.
deli diner thing, which was really, really good. And it's kind of like this bitter-sweet moment, because you're done with filming that day and like you got good things, and then you're all eating and having a good time, but you don't want it to be over.
Right.
Like, it's like Dave likes to say summer camp, and I love that analogy, so you could explain that.
It's always a good time when
I
it's
don't-
like a fun
Your
I
time.
summer
do?
camp, yeah.
What about
How
my
working
summer
on a
camp?
film is like a summer camp.
It is.
Well, it just makes it 10 times better. It just
Because
makes
this
it
little
fun.
tease thing, yeah. You say that it's like a summer camp where
No,
like,
I mean, of
everybody's
course,
like,
yeah, no, it is. I mean, if you've been to a summer camp or something like that, even though it's like a short-term kind of thing, it's so weird the way that you develop connections with people as if you spent a long time with them, and
Right.
and that's how it is on a film. Even after a day or a few days, you can kind of get that sense, and like when it comes to the smaller scale stuff, we've worked all worked together on a couple different things, Desiree and Bridget, and we've used Casey and Camille and Bobby and different things, and it's sometimes a little less daunting to kind of go into a project with just a few people if you kind of have that cohesive kind of unit already ready to go. It's like you show up, and even though it's the first day, you kind of already all speak the same language and kind of have an understanding of what's going on here, and everyone has their personalities that everybody kind of already understands. So when on a bigger budget film where you're shooting for a month or something like that, typically the first day or a couple days, people are still acclimating, and things are going to maybe not work as quickly as usual. But when I think we shot ours a total of 5 days maybe, over a long period of time.
Yeah.
But you can't really afford to miss a bunch of stuff on the first day.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
There were long days. It was like.
Yeah, we ended up shooting a lot of stuff, and we've worked on a couple other films that have been completed in an absurdly short amount of time. With John Young-Khan, we worked on a film a few years ago. It's called Susquehanna, and I think it was like 11 days that we shot. That was a feature film.
That was my glory. That I take very much pride in that.
Yeah.
Schedule. Because I was the AD on that, and I did. He's like, "How long do you think this, is going to take?" And like initially it was like 28 days, and then knowing that what the budget was, and feeding people, and then we were working with child actors, so there's laws with that, and making sure everything's done the correct way, and I'm like, we have 11 days. we got to get this done in 11 days. So
yeah, and we did it. I mean,
yeah,
we really burned through it, and everybody did a great job, and that was a pretty substantial size crew and cast and stuff, and we just did it. We shot it out. I mean, that was quite a feat.
And that was VHS.
Oh yeah, that was a direct to VHS sort of thing.
Filmed all on the VHS camcorders right now.
Which gives that a certain feel too.
Yeah.
Has a sort of nostalgia to
yeah.
it. Especially now.
Yeah.
Now that's
that's coming back now. Like it's all people are
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia these days for all different kinds of things. I mean, ours is, I guess, the 70s kind of homage a little bit.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of that vibe.
And, that was something that I think wasn't expressly, indicated in the script or anything like that.
It was modern in the script. It was more modern, yeah.
It just kind of happened.
It was modern. There was a cell phone mentioned in the script. And
we had to cut that.
Yeah.
Because of I forget, it just didn't make sense for some reason. So.
Yeah, it was like her mom called in the initial script. The mom called, and I really like House of the Devil, like that, the Ty West film.
Yeah.
I just absolutely, I adore that. So I'm like, well, why don't we do something like that? Even though that was completely shot on film, that was what was available in the 1980s. That's what they used. And we shot this with the Sony A7S II. We had LED lights, but it was very limited with the lighting. And we did not even there's a part where there's fog in there.
Oh,
that was so
that was
great.
all Dave.
That was all Dave. Dave Bates.
With his vape.
So we had him blow fat. What is it? I don't want to say fat stacks, but fat clouds. Blow fat, and he was getting lightheaded. He's like, I'm getting lightheaded. And I'm like, one more time, we gotta get this.
Yeah.
And
the coyotes were howling.
the coyotes were. There was actually coyotes
in the dark.
In the dark.
Bridget's
in the middle of the woods, he's screaming. Dave's blowing the fat clouds.
I thought Casey was gonna alert the neighbors when he was screaming so loud.
He was, That's
when you should notify the police, we're filming.
Yeah, we're filming, yeah.
If you think there's going to be something going on, that the neighbors might call you.
Yeah, but luckily there wasn't anything around, and Ron did alert the neighbor. He did one of the neighbors, the closest neighbor, know that we would be filming. It's always good to have a heads up to your neighbors. With Camille in my neighborhood in our garage, and she was afraid screaming,
that the neighbors would hear, I'm like, you'll be fine.
But it has been, I mean, there was some, and I don't know who it was, but I know that it did happen in Scranton. It's not an urban legend, but it was for the film challenge. It was one group, and they brought a fake gun, and they were up on the parking garage above the Iron Horse Theater, and they were waving it around and things like that. And someone said there's a person on the parking garage waving a gun.
Right.
And cops were called and everything and
so that's another kind of thing you want to be mindful of.
Cordial.
We used a parking garage. We used fireworks for a scene. Were you there? You were there that day with the. Was it just Bridget and I setting off the fireworks?
Probably just you or her.
Yeah, it was just Bridget and I, which was for Solacium. we were on the roof by Deso and Coney Island there in downtown, and I alerted someone that I know in the police department that we were going to be on the rooftop setting off fireworks, but it would only be for 5 minutes because we just had to get a face shot. So it was that epic shot in Solacium where it was the tire, the Sardone, that
the Sandone.
Sandone, yeah. So, but we didn't film. We had one chance to get that. But I didn't get a forward shot, and I needed that forward shot of him looking at it. So we shot that like 3 months later on the rooftop with Bridget's father owns a firework store. So we had all these like smoke bombs and fireworks on top of the roof, and like
the power of editing. Right
yeah,
there,
the power of editing
and continuity.
And continuity, because
Yeah, for those who don't know, so Solacium was a sci-fi movie you guys made a few years ago, and I remember at the time you guys were on the roof of 25/8 Studios, which was right by Cooper's, and the Sandone tire incident where the whole place went up in flames, and then there was just smoke for days because obviously everything just kept burning and burning. There's the tires and stuff in there, so you guys were able to kind of use that as a shot in the movie. Essentially, just came out of nowhere, and that obviously was not in the original.
It was
script.
not in the original script, and I was like, I have this nutty idea. What do you think, Dave? And he's like, what? I'm like, I like, let me call Marky, see if I can get, so Mark Denenbaum, it was above 25/8, but by Cooper's, and I was like, let me call Marky, see if I could get on his roofs to get this shot. And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I just want him looking at this world crumbling.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, and then, we asked the police, or not the firefight, the crew that was there, and they're like, I don't know, and we're like, we have masks. He's like, cheap mask. And he's like, all right, but not for long. And like both Dawn and myself, so the actor Don McGlynn who played the lead, we were so high. We we were only up there for 2 or 3 minutes just to get that shot, and it was on a handheld gimbal, and I just am there, and I walk back, so you just see him in the back of his head, and then expose this crumbling, burning mess and this smoke up in the air. And I was like, all right, that's it, we gotta go. Because I was so lightheaded and shaky, and because you're breathing that stuff in. Now the firefighters have the full mask on and everything that. And I'm like, it can't be that bad. You have kids playing. And there's like a playground not too far. I'm like, there's kids playing. It won't be that bad. But being up near it,
for sure.
I was sick.
You can't describe that. Like
no.
When my parents' house burned down over the Christmas, we cannot get rid of that smell. Everything anybody wore, even if you go near the place, just breathing it in, it's just that smell you'll never forget. And that smoke that just it gets into you. It's crazy. And that fire was crazy. That went on for days and days. We do want to let's stop for a minute and grab some questions and some comments from people too. Bridget tuned in earlier. She wishes she was there, but you guys are killing it.
We love you, Bridget.
We love you, Bridget.
Thanks for shouting us out in Atlanta.
Shelley says Bobby could have easily played an old man. I would like that. Jamie Suter, another fellow filmmaker in the area. I had the same teacher, and she made me into a filmmaker, so that's cool. Bobby was like, Ron had a barn, and he wishes an ostrich played the gas station. That would have been.
They were scary ostriches. They were terrifying, but not as terrifying as the kids.
They would have been scarier than Casey.
Probably.
Casey was so amazing. He's like Jack Nicholson meets Christian Slater meets James Dean. Like that voice.
Yeah, we've had him on the show before. I've seen him in a couple different local plays, and he's transformative. He can go from like role to role and play completely different kinds of parts and nail it.
Yeah,
he's
he was
great.
so creepy in this. It's so great. So great.
Let's see. Daniel Rossler.
Hey!
Let me know if you need me for another commercial shoot. It should only take 5 hours or so for a few seconds of film.
Do you remember
Yeah.
He's so great. We did a commercial for Arts on the Square, and we interviewed him, and we just had to have him say like one line. I mean, just to nail this line, it was so great. And then the outtakes from it is like a 3-minute video, and he's like, "Wait, who's gonna see this? Where is it gonna air?" I'm like, "Oh, this is for TV." He goes, "My grandma's gonna see this. Oh my gosh! I wish I would have showered. I would have done something," because he had to like work. He came right from work and like rushed. He's like, "I would have worn something different." Oh, he's great. I love him. Yeah.
Well, he's quoting Kurt Vonnegut in the comments, so I mean, you got to give him credit for that. You know, there's nobody else is going to go into the comment section on Facebook and quote Kurt Vonnegut for us. Bridget also said, any art takes practice to learn. Just shoot, learn as you go. There's tons of tutorials online and books to check out, but the best way to learn is by doing, and that's true. You know, you have to, no matter what your passion is, you have to jump in and actually do it, and you'll get better. You know, over time. You know, even your first project, you might look back and go, I don't know what I was thinking there, but you have to keep going and developing. You probably can't. I can't look at the stuff I wrote when I first started. Oh, God.
90% of the videos I had up on YouTube are gone. They're gone. They're still there. They're just privatized. I go back and I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember how stupid I was.
Shelley asked what the film's runtime was, and Bridget said 11 minutes, 30 seconds.
Well, it's like 12 minutes.
12 minutes around that.
12 minutes.
I missed like 5 minutes. Then you spoil it on me.
He goes, he messaged me. I sent him the link that you guys sent me, and I said, so you can watch it and whatever. And he says, I don't get it. And so I'm like, all right, well, if they don't get it, I'm going to explain it to you. So I explain it to him, and he's like, oh, but I didn't see the. I'm like, but I didn't realize that until after I explained it, so I already spoiled it for him.
Yeah.
So,
it's not what you think. It's so good. Like, I just really love it. Well, I'm very proud. I'm very, very proud. I'm proud of not only the film, but everyone behind it. I'm so proud of Bridget. I'm so proud of Dave, and I'm so proud of Desiree and Ron and Casey and Bob. Like, we're a family now. Like, we're the RLT.
Well, it's very much you're playing into the tropes that you would expect in a horror film, and then kind of you try to turn them on their head a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's more and more of a thing that you see, even especially in the horror genre right now, like movies like Get Out and stuff like that, where they're really playing with expectations and doing something totally different that people aren't used to seeing, or taking certain tropes and changing them. And I think, I wanted to talk a little bit about women in film, too, because I know that's a very thing that you're very passionate about. And it's obviously a thing that's a trend that's happening in film right now.
Well, I think it's always happened. I wouldn't say, like, trend, but I think it's always, like, even from the first filmmakers. It was the first narrative film was started by women.
I always feel like they've been pushed to the background, a lot of times, and not maybe given their due and stuff. And now I think people are more conscious, like, we should have a women director on this. We should have, that kind of thing. How do you feel about the way that Hollywood is going right now?
Well, that's a really loaded question.
I know it's a very loaded question, especially to try to fit into.
I think there's so much good is happening right now, because it's out there in the open that you have these women that are kind of like getting to a point and there's a wall in front of them, and they're fighting that, and they're climbing that wall, and they're standing on that wall, and they're being like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. Look at all these other women, and they're helping other women climb that wall and tackle it, and then break it down. Breaking down those barriers, and working together and supporting each other. Femme Fatales is a great organization. There's different clubs that you could. There's New York, there's Philadelphia, and it's just women helping other women out. Again, like, so many female filmmakers are getting the recognition that they so deserve, and like working hard for that, and like how I mentioned like the first narrative film. So you have like Alice Guy Blanche, who took silent film and just doing typical like a train coming at you, which is one of the first things ever filmed, and people were scared in the audience seeing this. But she took that and said, well, what if we have a story? So she came with like this woman that's picking up cabbage patch, or in a cabbage, and picking up dolls or human babies in these cabbage patch, not dolls, but like that are being birthed from that, and creating this narrative to film, which was all her, which was not done before. And then she's like, well, what if we sync sound? You know, and that was never done before. And like, she's just forgotten. She created thousands of short films and all these films, and they're like lost. Right? And then you have like Hedy Lamarr, who is so big, and like she's getting so much recognition now, which is so great. But you know, in that era, in, you know, the 50s and 60s, and doing what she did in the 40s, really, with creating the not only being an actress, but creating these sound wave, which is now used for cell phones. You know, and she didn't patent it, and therefore like lost it, but now she's getting the recognition that she deserved. And it's not like, you know, you hear people, and I'm not naming names, but, you know, just recently people were like, well, women can't do horror films. That's why they don't do them. That's why they don't make horror films. Which was recently in all over the Twitter universe. But so many good films have been made by women that are of the horror genre. And so many just films in general. And it's not, whether you're you know, a man, whether you're a woman, if you want to be a filmmaker, just go out and do what you're passionate about. Don't let limitations, don't let, you know, someone tell you that you can't be or do what you don't like, what you want to do. Just go out and do it. And a lot of people that were involved in Road Less Traveled were women. You have Desiree, we have Bridget. We're all major roles here. Dave's the editor. Surrounded by women.
He's kind of fading to the background.
Yeah. But we have like a different take. Like women, it's you know, they see things differently than a man does. A man sees things differently than a woman. It's kind of like, you know, you want to have these different perspectives. You want to have these different outlets. You want to have a different way of thinking about that. It's kind of obvious. Why not have women in film? Why not have anyone who wants to do film do what they're passionate about? Yeah.
I think you're seeing that more now too, where people want those different perspectives, because, you know, old white guys have run the industry for how long? It's like they're out of ideas. It's very clear. You hear that all the time. Hollywood's out of ideas. They keep making the same stuff over and over. Well, how about give somebody else a chance? You know, give other people a chance to come in and offer those different perspectives. You know, and I think you're seeing that more and more now. But even the horror genre in itself, I think a lot of people see it as sexist, like, oh, it's always a big, powerful guy beating on a poor woman, you know. But I always kind of saw it as like, I think it's the opposite, where the woman is always the one you're rooting for. She's the hero.
Yeah. You take Halloween. Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, you have Jamie Lee Curtis is like this strong character, you know? And that's how I feel about The Road Less Traveled. Like, it is a very female-driven film. Although you have the 2 men to 1 woman, this one woman is so, like, amazing in this movie. And Camille does a phenomenal job portraying that. And just in you have female filmmakers, females in general, like, we're nurturing, we're giving, we're, you know, known as mothers and all that, but we also support each other in a way that's kind of different. Like, if I were to reach out to a man who's a filmmaker, might get a little pushback, a little things, but I had mentioned Reed Morano before, and when I was doing Solacium, I chose to direct and to also be the director of photography, which is kind of two difficult positions in a
Right.
film, and you're doing both of them. And Reed Morano had done just that with Meadowland, and I reached out to her. So someone in the film industry, high up there, you know, she's one of the youngest, you know, in the AOC, and award-winning, and this amazing person. I said, hey, I'm going to direct this short, and I'm also the DP, and I've never done anything like this before. What can you give me?
Yeah.
I would, you know, you don't really expect an answer, but she wrote back like this beautiful, like, novel answer of like, you know, I'm so proud of you. This is so great. You know, this makes me happy. This is what I would do in your situation, but each film is different. You have to see your own vision. If you need anything, reach out. And like, to me, that's amazing. And to have that connection, and then to have, you know, like I said, femme fatales, there's directors, Women of Directors, which is another great website that you kind of, you know, have this list of other female directors, and you could reach out and have conversations with them. So it's like supporting each other and lifting each other up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bobby, being the horror expert that he
Yeah.
is able to mention Mary Lambert
Oh, yeah.
directed Pet Sematary, Slumber Party Massacre, directed by Amy Jones.
American Psycho.
American Psycho,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my favorites
Yeah.
of the whole genre, easily.
Yeah.
And that's, again, you know, people, I think, if they view it on the surface, they see it as a very sexist thing.
Yeah.
But if you see anything underneath that in the film, which there are plenty of layers to dissect there,
Yeah.
it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know? But it's funny to see how people will interpret something versus what you mean. You know,
Yeah.
so it's always a difficult part of it too. We do want to mention too. You talk about people trying to break in. Voyager Video has been very helpful in that sense. I've talked to a lot of people who they've rented equipment through Voyager Video, and then are able to do this kind of stuff, because there is that barrier to where some people are like, hey, I want to use some high-tech equipment, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, so you guys kind of help with that as well.
Yeah, that Dave could talk more about the rental side of things and what we've done in the past, and that was to help filmmakers, to help like.
Yeah, we used to. We don't rent anymore. We used to, which, you know, I guess was a nice resource for people. You know, now like it's just the barrier to entry is pretty low. For what you need to spend to be able to make, you know, good looking stuff, it's pretty low, to the point where you could spend a couple $100, and you know, even though we don't do that anymore, we're still always, you know, willing to help people out with if they're in need of stuff, because, you know, a lot of the bigger stuff, whether it's the lights or the C-stands and things like that, is either, you know, out of people's budgets, or it's not the kind of stuff that people get first. Usually they'll get a camera, a lens.
They're not thinking about sound or lighting.
Yeah, maybe they'll get an
essential.
on-camera mic or a recorder or something, you know, and so stuff like boom mics and specialized mics, or, you know, big lights and things like that are less of a priority, it seems, anyway. I mean, I tend to think the opposite. I think the camera is less important, especially now. I mean, if you're a filmmaker and you're into that kind of stuff, it matters to you, but most of the time people don't know or care that you shot with this camera versus that one, or on these lenses or those.
But if the sound is bad, people don't like it.
If the sound is no good, or if the lighting's a big one too. But yeah, so I mean, we were involved with that. We've always been kind of involved with helping people. They're always welcome to reach out to us for whether it's you know, just our opinions or advice, or if they need connections or whatever, just to get them started. Because like Lindsay was saying, you know, if you want to do that, this kind of thing, like, you know, just go do it. But you know, you do still need to kind of do a few things, reach out to a few people, put things together, and, you know, us, and, you know, there are plenty of other people in this area who are willing to help you
Yeah.
Along that
There
path.
are so
and,
many amazing filmmakers in this area. It's unreal. Like the amount that, and it's all like we're like this family too.
Yeah,
Like we can call,
It's not just LA or New York filming. I mean, you got every state. Like Bridget's in Atlanta, Georgia. Like they're big down there filming things. If you want to get in there professionally,
Right.
I mean, granted, you got to go to where like they're constantly getting work. And right now, it's like for Bridget's Atlanta or LA. If you really want to do that, but if you just want to get started and get experience, like helping out in local films here or in the area, independent, that's a great way to get that experience before jumping into a professional setting.
Yeah.
So you kind of know what a film production's doing. So you kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to get started.
Yeah, PA on not just local films too. See what there is out in surrounding areas. There are some things on Craigslist. You could subscribe to like casting notices too by different
film offices
casting.
too.
Yeah,
Like the film, like we're kind of with the Philadelphia Film Office since Pennsylvania is like it's Pittsburgh or Philly, so it's like there's like a directory on the Philly Film Office website of like people who do catering, who do like camera, PAs, all that stuff.
Unless you're Paul Sorvino, you can just hit up some county commissioners and they'll hand you a couple $1,000s to blow on a shit movie that nobody saw.
You saw it though.
We saw it. We saw it. There's a review.
Probably.
I have one of the only reviews on the entire internet that somebody tried to steal, by the way.
Oh my God.
It was, But I honestly think that would be, it's a better cult classic than The Room. And I think it would be extremely successful if they could get it out there.
Yeah.
But it'll never happen with all the issues with the rights and Sorvino's ego, who can't.
It would be bigger than The Room.
I don't think
it'd be bigger than Birdemic, which I put up there with The Room, which not many people know about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Birdemic is great.
Yeah.
You ever see Birdemic? I'm plugging that movie. That is just, it's like The Birds, but not. Like it tried and failed miserably, but it's so bad, it's good. Yeah.
So The Road Less Traveled will debut at the Northeast Film Festival at the Ritz Theater in Scranton on Saturday, March 23rd. New Jersey Horror Con and Film Festival. That's at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Do you know?
We actually have 2 screenings now at the NEPA Film Festival.
Oh, great.
So we have on Saturday night at 5, and then so on Sunday at 5:30, there's a local block with Nick and Ophelia is playing too, which is a full feature,
the mystery
which is
box
Scranton
block before
Films.
that
Yeah.
too.
Oh, okay,
And the mystery box is with that as well. So you have 2 chances to see that, and like Sunday there's a great lineup of local films and the mystery box. And then the following following weekend we're at the New Jersey Horror Convention and Film, which I'm like so excited about. Dude, that lineup of the festival is like unreal, and they keep listing more names, and you saw it, you're like, Ernie Hudson.
That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah. So
Winston.
Yeah, Winston.
I'm sure if you asked him and gave him $5, he'd be in your next movie.
Yeah. We had and just today we found out we're in Rome now. We got accepted to the Rome International Film Awards.
Rome, Italy.
Not Rome, New York.
To be clear,
we're Rome,
Italy.
Pennsylvania. Rome, Italy. We've entered a few. We entered Women in Film, which we'll know on March 8th, which is International Day of Women. Women's Day.
Yeah.
So keep your fingers crossed on that one. We've entered several film festivals throughout the United States and Canada. So they'll be coming in notifications. Toronto Horror Convention, HP Lovecraft in Portland. It's another big one that I'm rooting for.
And there's something too about seeing it with a live audience.
Yeah,
and
getting that feedback and What was your take? Did you see that coming? Did you?
No, I didn't go in with any sort of expectations as to like what would happen, or I'm like, okay, it's definitely I was expecting like, okay, something different has to happen.
Yeah.
It can't just be the same like bad guy chasing a girl with a knife kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's got there's got to be something here. You know, so when it did happen, I was excited to see that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you said that before, like how now the trend is like to turn all the tropes on their heads.
Yes.
So, like, I'm looking forward to when it turns back. So, like, people don't expect the expected.
Right.
And so they expect the unexpected. What? So, like, now, so now, you know the thing that happens in horror movies all the time with the mirror? Like, somebody's looking into a mirror.
And then they
close it, and then
somebody,
they kill, you know, and then now it's like, there's nothing there. Like, that's the thing now. So when you expect now that there's going to be nobody there. So if there's somebody there, you're like, oh my god, right? So like,
Well, so what I saw was I'm like, all right, big deal.
Well, thanks.
No, like, I don't get it.
You didn't see the last couple minutes of it.
I remember the first time, like Halloween 2. She closes the refrigerator and then was like, oh, I forget something, like opens back the freezer or something. And then she closed it again and Michael Myers, he's standing right there.
Yeah.
That scared me. And I remember being like, that is so great. I am terrified of that. I want to do that. I want to make that.
Yeah.
And now it's all about that mirror shot or that opening shot and that the music, you know, tone sets it. And then it closes and it's like, oh, they're not there.
yeah.
All right. Where are they going to be? You know?
I'm just saying, now you expect that, so it's like, you know.
There's a little bit of a play with the watch. I won't say any more than that, but there's a little bit of with the watch that plays an important part of. And once you get to the end, you kind of figure, oh, okay, that's why that's there. But I like that's you know, because a lot of when you watch a horror film, you know, I think everybody's expectation is I'm gonna scream at the person. You're stupid. Why are you going upstairs? Yeah. Get out the door. You know, that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of that where you're like, why is she doing this?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And then you're like, oh, there is actually a reason for it. You know, there's a logic
do things
to it.
too.
She doesn't do things. Yeah. There's a little bit of both of
when
that,
you expect her to go upstairs.
Yes.
She might not go upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was another thing with the watch. It had to be like research too because we wanted to do the 70s and. You know, was this around? Was this object around?
Right.
Making sure it was the correct type thing. So it's not there like.
Well, as soon as he says what the gas price is, you're like, okay, this sets the setting for you. You know, and I'm like, all right, that's clever because you wouldn't know immediately that's the setting of the film. Like, oh, maybe he just has an old car. You know. But then you know like you're getting gas for $5.20 anyway.
Yeah,
it's like okay.
There's also
just sat there for 5 minutes doing like 2 gallons. You know?
It would be like 1.5 gallons at this point.
Like fill her up, but he came with like you know, he was like with like 10 gallons.
He's too concerned about the 2 drummers and the saxophone. That's it. Yeah. I want to know, is it Bobby playing the saxophone, or do you think he's the drummer? I want to see.
No, he's the
drummer.
I would see bongo. Probably bongo. You got 2 drummers and a bongo, and he does the bongo.
He also said the NEPA horror film
festival
is
in
also October as well. So.
Yes.
Don't forget about that.
Oh my
Don't
gosh.
forget that.
Can't forget that.
I'm thrilled about that.
That's gonna be the coolest one of all
Shameless
of them.
plug.
Yeah.
Because
we might get. I'm hoping because Camille has the dress and we have all that, so maybe we'll go in full on costume.
All right.
Even with other things.
I'll go in my costume.
Yeah.
Jeans.
No, just vape. Just put clouds all around you.
Yeah.
Just be puffing all night.
I'll be the fog machine.
It took a lot to get that cloud. And it dissipates so fast. So I'm like, keep vaping.
Outside, you know.
They didn't have a fog machine.
We did not have a fog machine.
So you have lung cancer now, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
I survived. But yeah, the Bobby's Horror Festival is gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
You know, not just because you know it's his and it's local and stuff, but because we have this movie that we're showing that's like, you know, retro themed or whatever, and we're seeing it, gonna see it at the drive-in, you know, which is gonna be really, really neat.
They're really cool.
and he just does a really great job with that.
Yeah. And speaking, like, Bobby's films, taking things that are just, you have, like, Deatherman or Basement Bunnies. And just the other day, like, there was, like, On and On posted, like, this evil bunny thing, and I immediately thought of him and said, I'm like, we're going to do it. Basement Bunnies 2, let's go. Kind of deal. Like, he just thinking outside the box is Bobby's way.
For sure. So did we ever figure out what those other XXX movies were?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we did. What
was it Triple X? Was there XXX3?
Oh yeah, that was the Return of Xander Cage.
Okay, so it's just called XXX Return of Xander Cage?
Because we all know Xander Cage so well that you should definitely put that in the title.
He had 3 X's tattooed on the back of his neck.
Do you know there are
oh my
people
God,
out
X
there
for
that
Xander.
have that?
I never even saw the movie, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
And Knockaround Guys.
Oh, yes.
Boiler Room.
Oh, Boiler Room, yes.
A Man Apart. There's a great quote in the beginning of that movie that I can relate to every day.
What's that?
Well, the scene real quick. I know we're probably like...
Yeah, we're over time, but that's all right.
I think it's this movie, but anyways, he's like an attendant for like vending machines.
Yeah.
And he allows the guy that runs the shop to like take some of the profits. So he goes in to collect the money, and there's no money in any of the machines. So he goes to the guy that owns the store, and he's like, well, I'll tell you, like, and he just grabs him, and he's like, the bread guy gets paid, the beer guy gets paid, this guy gets paid, and you go through fucking me? And that's like me every day. In sales. I'm like, you're paying your beer, you're paying this, you're paying your electricity, and you're gonna fuck me on your ad dollars? No!
Oh, wow.
Every day.
I thought you were gonna come here with like some like uplifting quote, like this is what I live my life by. Like,
no, that's my life every day. No, not so much anymore. It was back when I was at the Weekender. It was working with a lot of bar owners that were just like fly by night.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'll do like 4 weeks of ads, and then like here's half of it up front, and then they'd like ghost you, and that's how I get paid, dude. Like.
Yeah.
Very limited time spent. So when I worked for Rock 107,
did you work
and
there?
I did the it was like Destination West with the Lindsay Boo, like hosting like these night outs, but like I had to sell them.
Okay.
Like, and they were at like we did one at Goodfellas Pizza was one, and like so I had to like sell it to Goodfellas that we would come and broadcast live, and the band would be there and have this stuff, and like it was very short lived because it was very tough sell. Yeah. And then I had to be like the Lindsay Boo character, which is my YouTube persona, which is now, like I said, 90% of that is gone. But it got me to, be where I am now. So I'm like super grateful, and yeah.
It's all about working.
I mean, like
and
the
Blockbuster.
The bars that I work with now, like I limit myself. I only deal with the ones that are like the V Spot and Beer Place. I mean,
yeah.
Those guys are,
people are trustworthy.
Yeah, here's your money now. It's like they get it, but there's some guys back in the day. It's just like they can give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
Well, we all have humble beginnings. Blockbuster being one of them. It's.
I say it was probably the best job besides like Voyager and what I do now, because I worked at like Wendy's and like other production, a place down here that I will not name. Very old school. Used to film on tape. And just I loved Blockbuster, and I felt so cool too.
Yeah.
Because you had like, it was pre-Netflix too, and like Redbox. Excuse me, I'm like losing my voice. But we got movies 5 days or a week before everybody else.
Yeah, that was cool.
And like
that
you felt like super cool because you're like, yeah, I got this movie. And then even so, the games.
Yeah.
So like games, like you could see a film in the theater. I'm like, yeah, I already saw that in the theater, but the games came out when they came out. And we got those a week before everybody else. And like that was
I was like a mix of like Dante and Randall from Clerks.
Yeah.
So it was like I could, you know, I liked the, you know, I was okay with the job, but I also like I hated dealing with people.
Yeah.
You know, so I like there was certain kinds of customers that I couldn't stand, but a lot of them were really cool. They just wanted recommendations and stuff like that. And that was the fun part of the job, being able to like talk movies with people passionately, and they don't look at you like you're a freak. You know, like
and
they're
the Tuesday customers were the best customers. Those were the people that came 10 o'clock. They'd be like waiting in a line for it to be open. They want those movies because that was the release day. And like, I worked at the West Side one. Let's talk about people complaining.
Oh, I know, right?
Oh, wow. And then like working up and was going to be the assistant store manager of the Dunmore location.
Oh.
But then I quit.
Bobby said,
on that note, but I loved Blockbuster. Bobby also worked there.
R.I.P. John Glosser.
John Glosser. God rest his soul. Great manager.
He was
funny manager.
Everybody would know. You would know him, especially if you went to the Scranton store.
Yeah.
You would know him.
Yeah.
It's a chiropractor's place now.
I know. It's so weird. They have an
thing.
MRI machine and a truck outside. It's like
one Eversville. It's a Med Express.
Yeah.
The Dunmore one was
a restaurant.
It's a restaurant now, but it was a dollar store.
It was a dollar store before.
Yeah.
And they didn't even take the stuff down. They just,
it was just the racks
stuff on
for the
shelves.
movies. They just put
Yeah.
And I'm like, now there's one Blockbuster left.
Yeah.
It's not the one in Texas. It's the one. Is it in Alaska?
You know, I heard they actually did finally close.
The one in Alaska.
Yeah.
But you know, if I could plug real quick, not about Blockbuster, but there was the documentary that was done by the guy in Lancaster.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, the
that
drive-in.
Was great.
Yeah, he did at the drive-in.
Yes, we did a podcast on the drive-in documentary.
Yeah, and I have no idea why his name escapes me right now. I'm embarrassed, but he did the documentary about one of the last video stores. It was really good. It was like 10 minutes. And, I don't even know. Can't remember what it was called, but it was really good. So here's my description of that film just then.
Yes.
Lindsay often says that her work at Blockbuster prepared her to deal with my descriptions of movies and just anything in general, because I'll be like, oh, you know that movie with the guy from the thing, and
Blockbuster employees were the best at that game.
Yeah.
So we could figure out what you were talking about, no matter how vague the details were.
A few days ago, he comes to me. He's like, you know what looks good? That guy who remembers the Beatles.
The movie about the guy who remembers the Beatles. So she was able to infer I was talking about a trailer for that movie.
Yes.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, and you could also know what a film's cover art looked like. You knew not the poster, but what was on the box and what the cover art said. And you were often would be like, oh no, I've never seen it, but I know what the box looks like. I know what that cover art looks like.
I met my wife through Blockbuster, so we talk about it all the time, and because we both worked at different stores, and sometimes we would work together and stuff. And that's one of the things we always say is like, oh yeah, I remember that. I can remember the cover art from that movie. And we know what we're talking about, but anyone else listening to that is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like cover art? There was some really weird, strange cover art, but it was just such a fun. Everyone that I worked with and got to know, and
I just missed the date nights. You go order pizza, you stroll through the aisles and
try to pick, and it was like an outing. Yeah, you even said it was like your family's thing.
That was the best time.
Yeah.
Candy in the front.
But going with me was the worst. It was the worst thing. My friends used to hate it because we'd be there for hours.
Well, now it's like on Netflix. Now you're on Netflix. It's like
he does the same thing, and I'm like,
we'll
just
search
put something
around
on,
and then pick something, and then I'll be like, but what if we watch something else?
You keep
we'll
scrolling.
decide. He'll be like, how about this? Oh, I'm like, oh, that sounds good, and then he keeps scrolling.
My wife hates it.
But we're thrilled, and we can't wait for this to come and have everybody see it. And you can get the day pass and get the block pass, and it's like $10 now. You can buy online, or $12 at the door.
All access weekend.
All access week. There's
some other events going on.
Yeah,
too,
and the lineup of people to meet and the discussions and just it's gonna be a fun weekend.
Make sure you go see this in the theater. That's the whole experience of it.
Yeah.
You know, don't wait till it's on video or whatever.
Home video.
Home video.
So it's on home
It's not even
video.
on home video anymore. Now it's all on your computer. You know?
Yeah.
It's like on YouTube. Nobody puts
Watch
anything
it
out on
Coming
DVD
soon to
anymore.
your cell phone. That's the trailer. Is gonna be.
They're gonna start making movies where they're like vertical.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I love like weird new stuff like that. Like I want to start shooting vertical 3D, like
Vertical 3D.
VR movies
Yeah.
that make no sense, just because we can.
Well,
Yeah, why not?
Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We will see you here next Wednesday. Make sure you go check out this on March 23rd and 24th.
And 24th, yeah. At the Ritz on the 23rd, and the 24th is at the University of Scranton.
You won't be here next
hall.
week?
I'll be off the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
PNC.
that's right.
I'm slinging burgers.
You're gonna miss some good ones. We do have one other one related to the film festival. It's gonna be really interesting and completely different than anything we've done before. So that should be fun. And it might end up on our 100th episode. So you don't even be here for the 100th episode. We'll see. We're at I think this is 98.
Is it really?
We're 98.
We're close.
That was a good year.
We're close.
92.
What's
1898.
1898 was a good year.
I'll
Yeah.
be in Wilkes-Barre, I think.
Good times.
All right, you should pop in for a cameo.
All
right. Have a good night, everybody. We will see you here next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye. We wave at the camera now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.